Thanks for joining us on Bobbye Tonilee Unplugged, where the message is always truthful, authentic, and inspiring. For more information on Bobbye Tonilee Unplugged, visit bobbyeandtonilee.com. Now your hosts, Bobbye and Tonilee.
Hello, welcome to Bobbye Tonilee Unplugged, right here every day at K-Praise 1210 a.m. If you're brand new to the show, we'd love to have you visit us online at dailydisciples.org. That's our website, supported by Daily Disciples Ministries. Most of you in San Diego know that, but if you're listening anywhere in the world, by the way, you can do that. Not just listen, but watch by going to dailydisciples.org. Click the Bobbye Tonilee Unplugged banner right there on the homepage, and it will take you to our YouTube channel. We really want you to go there just because today, for example, in studio, you get to see our very handsome guest, Justin Ireland from Compassion. We're going to spend the whole time talking with him and learning more about what this amazing organization does. But also, when you're on the website, don't forget to sign up for daily devotions. We have a Bible study coming up. As a matter of fact, it is already in the works, but it's not too, we're starting, I think we're doing lesson 2 this week. Tia, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, it's Spiritual Warfare Bible Study, and it's being held at Bonita Valley Christian Church. It's on Bonita Road. It's like towards Chula Vista. So it's actually great that Bonita Valley opened up their church for us to teach it, because we've done this Bible study so often in North County that now we're going to South County.
Yeah, and don't forget, this is Thursday. This is actually Thursday.
In the morning, they have a 10 o'clock time, but they said they'd rather have people come to the evening, and we'd love to see you there at the evening at 6:30 p.m. Okay?
So 6:30 p.m. Thursday evenings at Bonita Valley Christian Church, all right? This is an outreach to women all over San Diego. There's about 150 ladies attending this study right now just from the church itself. But they're graciously opening this up to everyone. So we'll see you Thursday morning at 10 or Thursday evening at 6:30. Okay?
Yes.
And it goes for a couple of hours, and you can sign up at dailydisciples.org. Today in studio, as I said, we've got a good friend of ours that we've known now for several years and been very close to this organization called Compassion International. We want to welcome Justin Ireland to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Justin,
I love being out here. It's great. Flew in yesterday and it's beautiful out.
Well, let's talk about that. Where are you located right now? Where are you living?
Yeah, so I'm in Birmingham, Alabama, actually. And ironically enough, and this never fails, is whenever I leave town, that's when bad weather comes in. So last night my family dealt with tornadoes while I was here in San Diego, and they said, "What's the weather there?" And I said, "Well, it's a little bit better than where you're at right now." So it never fails. That happens, though. But yeah, I'm in Birmingham, originally from the Atlanta area, and get to travel for work, so it really doesn't matter where I'm based.
Yeah, that's great. And Tonilee and I met you, I don't know, it's been a few years ago now, because we were doing the tour with Salem.
That's right.
And got to know you from being on the road with you. But more importantly, we got to go to El Salvador,
that's right.
Which I think opened our eyes to so much of what Compassion does. And to kind of give our audience, I know many of our listeners know about Compassion, but there's always more to the story.
Sure.
You know, people think, oh, supporting a child. And TL always tells people it's so much more than that. You're not just supporting a child, you're changing the family's life in so many ways.
That's right.
And we've had the blessing of meeting so many of those kids that are now grown. But give us some insight into maybe things that people wouldn't know about Compassion, that I think that distinguish them or make them different from some of the other organizations out there.
Sure. Well, no doubt the first thing that comes to mind is just the fact that Compassion works strictly and solely through the local church. So there are a lot of organizations that either work through governments in different countries, they work through the school system, they have other entities that they work through. Compassion has said, hey, singularly, we're going to focus on working through the local church. Why? Because that's who Compassion is. At our core, we are Christ-centered, we're church-based, and we're child-focused. So those are kind of the cores of who we are, and dictates a lot and determines a lot of where we work and how we work. So, you know, Compassion's not going to work in a country where we cannot openly present the gospel. That's at the core of who we are. We want to make sure that we are supporting an established organization, the church, to do what they do. And so by setting up our program with local churches in the countries that we work, we are essentially growing churches. When a sponsor says, I'm going to step up and sponsor a child, that child is tied in with the church, they're tied in with the program, their family then becomes tied in with the church. Wow. And so all of a sudden, it's growing, that church body. And the pastor in that region who knows these families, they're the ones reaching out and having a direct ministry and impact on these kids and these families. So that's kind of one of the core distinctives of who we are. We want to openly present the gospel, want to always work through the church, and we want to be about the child. So we want to make sure that they are being represented with dignity and respect. Right. One of the cool things I appreciate about Compassion is the fact we don't take pictures or show videos with the flies swarming and just that whole picture of poverty that we so often see on television. We want, and this was so cool when I came into the organization, that they said we want to make sure that pictures and images we show of children, mom and dad can look at and say, I'm proud of that kid.
That's great.
I'm proud of my child and how they're being displayed. And we wanted to make sure that the dignity was there for every individual, just like we want that for ourselves.
Right.
You know, why would we put that into question or take a different look on that just because of where somebody grows up or the condition or situation they grew up in?
Right.
And so I really appreciated that, and that they keep the child and their respect and dignity at the core of who they are.
You know, when we were in El Salvador, I was in Point Loma, Nazarene, getting my master's in ministry, and so I was able to interview the pastor in El Salvador and use it for my paper. And Eddie, I actually want you to put that up on the screen because I have a picture of me and him together. And even though, you know, he speaks broken English, everything you said is exactly what he said to me. He said, I used to have a church, and they were Baptist. They were in the Baptist denomination. I know you guys are not denominational. I mean, you do all churches.
That's right.
But he said, I used to be up in a protected area in the hills, and he said, I had a church up there, and he said, God said, you need to go where I would go. So you need to go into the city with the gangs and make a difference. And he said he was scared. He was scared to bring his family down there. And he, you know, and their church, even when we were there, it had the bars up, you know, and he said, I was scared. He said, but I knew as a step of faith. He said, so when Compassion approached me and asked, could we partner? He said, I was so excited. He said, because now I'm watching my church grow in the inner city, and we are making a difference for good, for Jesus, you know. And he said that the gang members were coming to church because of the good that Compassion was doing for the children. Yeah. And he said, gosh, just that step of faith of leaving this protective environment. And don't we want to do that? I mean, as Christians, it's so easy to preach the gospel on the phone, you know, but to literally go in front of, like on the street corner, to tell people about Jesus, or really get in there with the poor and the prisons, it's a whole different step.
That's right.
And that's what he was saying. So Compassion is making a difference to, like you were saying, Bobbye, the entire family, and changing the way the church dynamic works, which is awesome.
That's right. Yeah, and you know, I don't know any scripture reference that says I'm calling you to comfort. And I'm saying when you become a believer, when you lead this life that follows hard after me, that I'm going to make everything comfortable for who you are and where you are in life. You know, that's just not the gospel that I know. And so he calls us to difficult situations sometimes. But the great thing is, whether we are physically going, whether we are supporting others to go, whether we are sponsoring kids and it's a financial discomfort, or, you know, just, I don't know if we can make this work, God always goes before us. He always takes care. If we are willing to follow after him and do the things that we know we're being called to do, being about those less fortunate, supporting and giving voice and advocating for kids and children and parents and adults in poverty, he is going to go before us. He is going to take care of the steps that he wants us to walk through in that journey.
I love it. If you're just tuning in to Bobbye Tonilee Unplugged here at K-Praise, 12:10 a.m., our very special guest with us today in studio is Justin Ireland. And Justin is, we're going to continue spending our time today talking with him about compassion. He's obviously deeply passionate about the cause, and so are we, for that matter. We want you to understand, if you're listening right now, that just because maybe you've heard this before, maybe you have supported children through other organizations, there are so many kids today who do not have support. There are so many kids today that someone might sign up and last a few months and then drop them. And it's not just about, what is it, Justin, $38 a month?
That's right.
I mean, $38 a month, a little more than $1 a day, changes a life that can impact their entire family. Beyond, we're going to talk about that after the break, is actually some stories, some real stories, because we've heard them. I know Justin has a million of them, but when you hear and see the reality of a life changed in the name of Christ, and I love how everyone always talks about how Jesus is not a God of poverty. Like, they're being set free from poverty. It's an incredibly powerful
Jesus'
message.
name.
In Jesus'
That's what they
name.
always say.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So we want to give you an opportunity today to support a child. And we have our own link on our website at dailydisciples.org. You can go there and click the compassion icon right there on our homepage. It's going to be up, and you can actually just, through that link, go straight to Compassion's website and sign up today and change the life of a child. $38 a month. Most of us in Southern California, we can do with Starbucks. We can cut out a couple of Starbucks a month and take care of that one price. And not only the money, but the relationship with the child. Writing that child, letting them know that you love them and that you're praying for them means more to them. We're going to talk about that after the break. You're listening to Bobbye Tonilee Unplugged here at K-Praise 1210 a.m. Don't go away. We've got so much more in store, and we'll be right back.
Now there is a way to optimize your marketing potential in one stop. Business in a box. The box includes state-of-the-art websites designed to function on all devices. Custom videos produced to share your message across cyberspace and television. And our team of experts who target your desired customers using sophisticated algorithms and the most relevant metadata to reach them through email, social media, and other digital windows. Call now for a free consultation and discuss a marketing plan designed for you. Call 1-800-992-0369.
Welcome back to Bobbye and Tonilee Unplugged. We're so thankful to have you with us, and we're also so thankful to have Justin Ireland with us from Compassion International. He has actually partnered with us to go across the nation in the last 2 years on our Power of Friendship tour and then our Power of Love tour. And he was here, his group, with the Power of Hope in January. So Justin, thank you so much for
you.
Glad to have you in
being here,
town.
and
Yeah, thank
especially
you.
from Atlanta.
Yeah.
I was sharing a story yesterday with Bobbye. I was studying the Word, and I was in Mark 11. And there's a verse that says that Jesus was hungry. So he went up to a fig tree, and there was no fruit on that fig tree. And so Jesus cursed it. And the disciples had overheard the curse. Well, when they came back a little while later, the disciples were astonished and said, "Look, Jesus, you cursed this tree and it has withered." And Jesus says, "Well, if you just believe, it would be done unto you." And I was looking at that verse thinking, that's not true, really, because we can believe a lot of things, but if it's not in line with Jesus's need, like Jesus's hunger right then was a need, and that tree did not fulfill that need. So Jesus cursed it, and so it was done as Jesus said. So if we're not in line with the needs of fulfilling Jesus, like Jesus's need, that's when we have the power to just believe and it would be done. Well, I was saying to Bobbye how many times do we realize that Jesus's need is right in front of us and we're not the tree willing to provide that fruit? And when I look at Compassion International, we are seeing a need that Jesus is saying, "Do not reject the little children from coming to me, for such is the kingdom of heaven," are these children. And Compassion is focusing on the children being raised in the church so that they are freed from poverty in Jesus' name. And Jesus has a need that we help those who are poor, we help those who are in prison, that we help the children. And if you are hearing this message today and you know that God is looking to you to provide the fruit to meet his need, I am asking you to go to dailydisciples.org, because $38 is nothing in comparison to Jesus cursing a tree that wasn't able to provide that need.
That's right.
And today, Justin, I mean, I feel that strongly about Compassion. I love Compassion that much. I think maybe because I have a nursing background too, and I saw that they actually gave vaccines to these kids. They kept the medical records for these kids.
Right.
It's not just food and the Bible and then the kids going home and reading the Word of God to families who, when it rains, their whole house is washed away.
Right.
It is taking care of the whole person. So can you share a little bit of what you've seen? Because we've been to El Salvador, but we know you have gotten around the world with compassion.
Well, yeah, you said it perfectly, and that is compassion takes a holistic approach. We want to develop the child, not just one aspect. We don't want to just provide food. We don't want to just provide medical care or a loving place where they can come and learn, they can hear the scripture. We want to provide all of those things, and in a way that allows them to grow and mature, even as kids, to becoming a fulfilled, mature adult. So that at the point they graduate high school, 18, 19, 20 years old, they have the life skills, the education, the abilities to provide for themselves. That's how we end this cycle of poverty, is we want to allow them to be able to provide for themselves, their family, so that they're not repeating the cycle, they're not jumping back into poverty or still stuck in it to grip. You know, part of the challenge is so many of these children can't afford education.
Right.
So without education, as we know, even as an American, it's really tough to find a job. And it's even all the tougher in developing countries where the likelihood you get a job is all based on really who you know or who knows you and can speak to your reputation even as a worker. And so to now have education behind you, that speaks volumes. And that's what we're seeing a lot of. These individuals who are kids, who grew up in the program, become adults, they are able to get jobs, whether in their own country or if their school or a job brings them to the States, they're able to keep and hold jobs where otherwise they would not have had that opportunity. And so all of a sudden they're able to provide for themselves. They're able to provide for a family. I was just in Haiti, and I think I mentioned this before, but I was in Haiti speaking with a now adult who he's married and has a daughter of his own. And in sharing with him, just talking about the fact that his daughter will never know the poverty that he knew.
Praise God.
He grew up in it. His wife grew up in it. And they now have a daughter who will never know that level of poverty because he has a job, he's been educated, his health has been taken care of over the years. And when you talk about that, you know, we've seen the sponsorship play out in several arenas. So if a child is in the program and breaks their arm, Compassion Funds will cover that. Food, making sure that they're taken care of as far as eating and healthy. And, you know, it comes back to that saying, you know, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach him to fish and you fed him for a lifetime.
That's
That
right.
is
That's so true.
that is exactly the approach that we take, is that holistic development and making sure that we are training and educating, not just providing the immediate need, but making sure that they are taken care of even after they graduate the program.
And the way this works, Justin, if somebody goes right now, and we're going to encourage you, if you're listening, to go to the easiest way today. There's two ways you can actually sponsor a child. You can call us if you have any questions. We're always a phone call away. 800-992-0369. Someone's standing by to take your call. Always on our show. You know that. Many of you call during the program every day. 800-992-0369 will direct you right to the link of how to get to the website and how to sign up. Or you can just go straight to Daily Disciples and click on the homepage where we have a banner up for Compassion, and also either on the video or the blog, there's something right there on the homepage. You can find Compassion on our website in many places. Click through and just follow the instructions. And it's $38 a month. And I know from being a sponsor to a lot of children, and Daily Disciples sponsors a lot, and everybody here sponsors, and we get amazing amount of information on these kids. It's amazing. I get letters from the pastor of the church.
Yes.
Where all the children I'm sponsoring, every church they go to, I get a letter from the pastor every so often.
That's right, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we want the relationship. It's such a key part of the sponsorship program. So yes, when a child is enrolled and they're waiting for sponsorship, they are receiving the benefits of the program. What they're not receiving is the one-to-one relationship, the disciple making, the building of one another. And that's what is so key in these roles. Oftentimes when I go overseas, I'll take a book bag of stuff to a sponsored child. And I always tell them, make sure you include a picture of yourself and your family. And to watch kids dig through these bags and see, a soccer ball or a blanket or a new pair of socks and a toothbrush, they're very excited and appreciative of those things. But no doubt, every time they come to the picture, they hold it up, They'll kiss the picture because they understand that this is somebody who loves them, who cares, who is praying, who is really encouraging them in ways that they've never been encouraged before. And that is exactly what we are hoping at Compassion that the whole sponsorship program is about.
Right.
We don't want to make it about compassion. We want to make it about pouring into individuals' lives so that they see Christ, that they come to a relationship with Him.
Right.
Just last year, there were over somewhere around 113,000 decisions for Christ. And that's
Praise the
just from children in the program, not including any parents or adults
Wow.
who are impacted by it.
Wow.
So
That's what
it
it's all
just
about.
it speaks volumes to the church growth and what's happening when a child gets
That's
sponsored.
amazing. I just, again, we're so thankful to have Justin, not just as a friend, but he's on the front lines out there. And Justin, not just you, but talk a little bit, just briefly, about where Compassion's at in the world. This is something, how long has the company been around?
How broad?
How broad
Yeah.
is the reach of what you're doing?
Yeah, so Compassion's been around for over 60 years, getting close to, I think, 65 at this point. And Compassion operates in 26 countries around the world, including Central and South America, Asia, and Africa. And we're in a number of those countries, again, in countries where we can openly work through the church and present the gospel. That's core of who we are. So 1.6 million children are current beneficiaries of the sponsorship program. So that's a lot of lives being impacted.
That is, right.
And there are lots more to be impacted.
Oh, yeah.
But the studies that have happened, Compassion went through a sponsorship study a few years back called White Research, and you can look it up online. But a group came to us from a university and said, we want to specifically look into child sponsorship and if it has an impact. And Compassion was the only organization who agreed to be the subject of the research.
I remember you telling me this. I think it was
Yeah.
even Berkeley that
That's
did
right.
this study.
That's right.
Yeah.
So they dug into it, and all the research and results came back, and they found out what we already knew, and that is child sponsorship, no doubt, has a major impact not only on an individual's life in the moment, but for the rest of their life. It changes.
And those of us who live in California know how Berkeley is very liberal. So for them to take,
That's
They were
right.
looking
to
for
be
something.
objective,
They were looking, that's
right?
right.
To be
For something to be
objective and say
That's right.
compassion works
That's
out of all
right.
the programs is
Yeah.
a great seal of approval.
That's a major thing, and we were so excited to get those results back. But that just shows us the impact that individuals have in child sponsorship role.
Right.
That's what's so incredible.
That's so true. That's exactly right. Because you've got, what I love about it is that the church is absolutely integral in the child's life.
Oh, yes.
And there, we know from other organizations, there's so many on television, and the children look, I actually hate the animal spots, and I hate
Yes.
the children's spots.
Yes.
To me,
Yeah.
it's manipulative, and absolutely it works, and it doesn't diminish the cause or the need for it, but I'm not comfortable with it. But what I love that you do is what you said earlier about respecting the child in a way that
dignity, right.
there's dignity, you're not manipulative, and it's something that they are involved in church, they're really witnessing to their family. That first Bible that they bring home, some of those kids are bringing home just pictures and just word pictures in a Bible, and their mothers and fathers, if their father's around, are picking those up and
That's right.
starting to read the Bible for the first time through maybe their
And this is
5-year-old.
in a
That's right.
house that doesn't have electricity.
Right.
So you
That's
can
right.
only read for a very short period of time.
Right.
And yet it's changing their life. I
That's
mean,
right.
it's amazing.
Yeah,
I know. I love it.
really is. And just to hear the stories of life change that happens, and we hear a lot of what goes on overseas. The Lord's Resistance Army and Joseph Kony. That was a name that we heard majorly a few years back because it was a big effort.
Yes, it was, right.
To
That's
take
right.
down Joseph Kony in northern Uganda.
yes.
Well, one of the girls that now lives here in the States, she had to escape Joseph Kony and the Lord's Resistance Army on a nightly basis. She had to sleep in the jungles. She had incidents with snakes where her only protection was to run and to escape. And then through the Compassion program, she was in a much safer environment where she was followed. We kept up with her. We made sure that she was safe. People knew and loved who she was and where she was going. And so that is a great
That's
example
awesome.
of the
That's
kind
awesome.
of impact that we have. Individuals. It's not this corporate compassion. They're the ones. We're just the medium for people to step up and to make a change in those children's lives.
And the gal we met in San Diego, she was only in the program for 3 years. and it changed her life that now she's speaking for it. So
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much information about compassion. Again, we want you today to have an opportunity to change the life of a child. There are children just waiting, and this is what Jesus calls us to do. This is not about money. It's not about anything except, are you in a position to help? $38 a month. And don't just look at the money. Look at a relationship that will literally not just bring a child to Christ, but potentially an entire village,
You're
to
bearing
be honest.
fruit.
That's right.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to Bobbye Tonilee Unplugged. To sign up, go to dailydisciples.org and look for that compassion right there on the banner. And don't forget to check the Bobbye Tonilee Unplugged banner and watch us in studio on demand anytime. Until next time, God bless, have a great day, and we will see you soon.
Thanks for tuning in to Bobbye Tonilee Unplugged. Tune in every day on air and online. For more real life, real answers from Bobbye and Tonilee. Subscribe to the Bobbye and Tonilee channel, and for more information, visit bobbyeandtonilee.com.